You're going to hate me when I tell you this, but I go to the valet auto wash once a week.
Okay.
Steve has
Fucking
a
already
name for
hates
that.
me.
Steve's got a fun name for that. Steve, please.
That's called the Pummel Tunnel right there.
The Pummel Tunnel, right?
Yep,
So
yep.
the valet auto wash in Lawrence is the second largest car wash in the country.
Mm-hmm.
All right, because I'm into knowing stupid shit. So that was something really dumb that I had to learn. But I need, especially my work truck, I have everybody's signed up in the Agliata house with a monthly to valet auto wash. You got to keep your shit clean. Now, I know it's probably not the best for the outside of the car from what I gather going to, a car wash like that. But my car's got to be clean. So inside and out. And they have inside vacuums. You can vacuum everything in the inside vacuum. I could never right now my truck's a mess because I live in it from work. But every Saturday, I wake up in the morning, I do my workout, I go to the gym, I do whatever, and I go to the car wash. And it's part of what I do. I could never understand how people live like that in filth like that. I could never ever understand that. And I could never understand how they could do it with their cars, or how can you be organized? Like, how can you be successful in being an entrepreneur, or even if you're not an entrepreneur, even if you, I don't know, fucking are work for the state in some administrative capacity. How can you do your job right if you can't find your tool, you can't find your pen, you can't fucking look at the rear view mirror because of filth? How can you do that? Have you ever found anything in a car like panties or like a
There he goes.
dildo?
There he goes. I'm waiting for that.
I
thought that was gonna be the first
you
one.
knew that was coming, right? Have you ever found that and you've been like, oh shit, I wonder what goes on here?
All kinds of things. We found used condoms, we found drugs, we found
cool.
We have found underwear, bras. The thing that grosses me out the most is fingernails. When you find fingernail clippings, people that bite their nails and then spit them on the floor. And that to me, I'm just like, what in the really? What in the world are you doing?
You just spit it out the window, people. Throw it out the window.
How about cut your fucking nails with a clipper?
Well, this is why my wife makes me shower as soon as I get home, and she's just like, oh my gosh, what did you work on today? So yeah.
Nah, I remember being just dirty. Fleas. I've brought home fleas. I've done where I know I have to get changed. I've literally gotten changed in my driveway. My neighbors are walking by like, hey, Ray. And I'm just straight in my underwear,
I've done that in the garage. I'll strip down in the garage. That's actually what I did today. I walked in the back door of the garage and stripped down in my underwear and took all my clothes, immediately put them into the washing machine, started the washer, and did a heavy load and ran it through twice. So, yep.
We had a property. So I was doing clean outs, and then the company that I was working for, their name was Acero, and they hired me to be their regional manager. Hired my employees, the whole 9 yards. It was a really good situation. So we got all the in-house crew. There was 20 guys. There's me, an assistant manager, and 18 guys. And we would get all the hard houses that the subcontractors didn't want to do. The absolute worst of the worst of the worst houses that you could imagine with stuff in them. So, and we got to travel. We traveled all over the place. We were based out of Philadelphia, but if they got we would cover from Roanoke to Syracuse. But most of our work was in Philadelphia. But then they would say, hey, we want you guys to go to Kingston, New York for a week. We just got 20 houses there, and we're going to open up a new shop up there, and we're going to train the guys. And we want you to go back and forth for the next, couple of weeks. So we would do it. It would be cool. So I saw a lot of the country in that area that normal people would never see.
Yeah.
So we were doing this. I got a lot of crazy stories, but I got two that are interesting. There was this one house in Pennsylvania that had. Well, let me go to the Princeton one first. We get a house in Princeton, and we're like, all right, it's Princeton.
Right.
This is fucking cool, right? This isn't going to be bad. I don't know why it has already been turned down by the entire network of subcontractors. So we know that something is there, but we don't know what yet. So we go over there, and it ended up I'll give you perspective. It had 900 cubic yards of garbage in it. So to give you perspective, that's 30 dumpsters.
Yeah.
30 cubic yard dumpsters of
That's
garbage
a
in it,
lot of stuff.
right? Plus countless numbers of, we had dump trucks. I don't know how many trips we made back and forth to the dump with the dump trucks. We could not keep up with the volume of this. And it was a little house, and the guy, he hoarded everything. He hoarded everything. He had 40 or 50 washing machines, like washers and dryers. He had just like boxes and boxes of newspapers. At one point, the basement had flooded. So the basement had like tunnels that you could walk through, these tunnels of around the shit, and it flooded. So it just stunk like filth, like just like mold and mildew. And that was a job that I've never seen that much garbage come off of a property ever in my life. And even the guys with the dumpsters, that like we used Horizon, this local waste management company, Horizon, they're great. And even the drivers were like, they're like, Jesus Christ. They were like,
it just keeps coming.
like, does this ever end? They were dropping off like 3 dumpsters at a clip. You know what I mean? But we got, that was a one where I just couldn't believe the volume of filth. We've had other ones where they were like flop houses or whore houses, or, you know, they'd bring in, you know, migrant workers from whatever. So they'd have like 40 or 50 mattresses, plus just tons and tons and tons of just garbage. And some of them, like, they hold in your mind that you're just like, this is so insane. And we had to do all kinds of crazy shit to like get the garbage out of there. And the idea was just to get the garbage out, clean the houses really good, make them safe. So that way the realtors can come in and sell these houses. Right. And I just never seen anything like it in my life. And I'm sure it's like that with cars too, because you just can't, like, I don't know if this is just people just aren't raised right, or they think that this is okay in some way, but I don't, you know,
what I think
I've
happens
never.
with a lot of people, I think it gets to the point where they're overwhelmed and they don't know where to start. And, you know, and that's something where one of the things I try to do as the owner of Old Glory, and it's a marketing tool, but it's also sort of like I like to make a dent in the community, but I try to get people on a schedule. We have a CRM, and I'll email every 6 months and give people a reminder. Hey, it's been 6 months since we last worked on your car. You know, if you like to bring it in and have it cleaned again and protected, then, you know, we'd be happy to have you in. But I think it's, you know, it gets to the point where it's so dirty or so bad that they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And then that's where it's great to have them bring it to us. We could take care of it and then kind of get them on a schedule. So, and we have a lot of people that will buy new cars and bring them right in to get them protected right off the lot. And then they fall into a schedule where they're there every 6 months or so.
All right. So let's talk about that. Because one thing you said was ceramic coating. That was one thing you said. And the other thing is now with the schedule. So let's say I have a 2016, which I do, Ram pickup for work. I'm a huge fan of Ram pickups, right? So I want to bring.
When they start.
All right, motherfucker. That's a whole nother story for another day.
I didn't tell you. Key, and half the time the car won't start.
Rob, they got a new starter. They got an I think it works now. But did I tell you I had to drive home in reverse with one of my vans? Did I tell you that story?
How did you drive home in reverse?
Bro, I went to bring the van to Poulin's, right? To Vinny's shop, Poulin's Garage. They're great. They're right in Hamilton, really nice guys. And I bought this. All right, so my business partner and I have one partner in this one particular company, and we bought this van, and it's a really, really nice van. It's a 2016 Transit 250. It's like a bigger size Transit. Great van. So it had 326,000 miles on it when we bought it, and it only drove to one place. It drove back and forth to Boston, Massachusetts every day.
Wow.
Every 7 days a week, this fucking van drove back and forth to Boston, Massachusetts, right? No matter what. Slightly south of Boston. I don't know the exact town, but whatever, right? Every day. So we buy this van. I'd say 6 months into having it, the engine blows, right? No problem. We only paid $5,000 for the van. The engine, I find a new engine installed, $4,500. My partner says, no, no, no. I got this guy. He's got a guy, right? $3,500 going to put the engine in. This fucking thing has not worked since properly. It works when it wants to work. So a couple months ago, it just broke down at the base of the Tacony Palmyra Bridge in Philly. We tow it to this guy, Rob's in Bristol, PA. He says there's a communication problem with the computer, blah, 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 whatever. He fixes it. So now it's at my house. We cleaned the van out. Good to go. I said, I'm going to drive it to go get an oil change. The fucking van, drive down my street. It gets to the end of my street. It will not drive forward anymore. All right. All it does is stall. So I keep on starting up, but when I put it in reverse, it doesn't stall anymore. I drove home in reverse.
You made it.
I made it, right? So I'm here, obviously, and I made it, but I couldn't believe it. But I'm going to go back to,
How far?
you know where I live. So I don't know, a mile. I don't know.
That's ballsy. Backwards?
I had to do it. I couldn't fucking suck it.
What lane were you in? Were you driving like you were driving a regular car in the right lane? Or you,
no, bro. It's residential. It was residential.
Yeah.
It was residential, but I did it. You know what I mean? I pretended I was in like the Secret Service and I was like driving backwards like that. You know what I mean? It was fucking fun. But I want to go back to this. So I have this pickup truck and I want to get it waxed. Is like going to do outside protection on my pickup truck. Is that an expensive proposition? I know I don't want you to quote me on here, but is it $500 to do that? Is it $200 to do that? What's the like, and what's the benefit of like just not throwing on some turtle wax yourself and buffing it out? You know what I mean?
Sure. So
look at Rob. I make Rob laugh all fucking night long, like all night. And then he gets mad at me when I repeat conversations to him. And then we go to bed.
Yeah. No, you have mental breakdowns. You start telling me the ideas that I gave you yesterday. They're like, that's a great idea. And you call me like it's a new idea. Like, what's wrong with you? Do you have a head injury or what? What's going on, bro?
Then you send me, what's that thing called Bitmoji. That's the best thing ever.
Him and his Bitmoji. His Bitmoji looked like it was 100 years old. I'm sorry, Steve.
Man, oh man.
Steve, what's the advantage of just rubbing some turtle wax on that fucker versus and buffing it out versus bringing it to you? And obviously there's like different levels to it. Is it like waxing versus ceramic coating? Like what's the
absolutely
what's the deal?
I'll be honest with you and tell you that's a can of worms. There's a lot to unpack there as far as what's going on, but basically what happens is that you need to make sure that your vehicle is cleaned, that it's prepped to have something done to the outside for protection. And then everybody always confuses a wax and a polish. They're like, well, you're going to polish my car? Or are you going to wax my car? And I'm always like, polish is different than wax. I had a lady call and she was very upset with me yesterday because I told her, here's the deal. Polish is what makes it shiny and wax is what protects it. And she was like, yeah, but I need you to wax it. And I was like, well, yeah, we're going to do that after we polish it. Well, no, I need you to wax it and then polish it. And I'm like, that's not how that works. We're going to polish it, then we're going to wax it. And she was adamant about, you have it wrong. And I was like, I've been doing this for 20 something years and you're absolutely right, ma'am. I'll do it the way you want to.
And then do what the fuck you want. That's how I live my life too.
Exactly. So basically the way it works is that if you have a vehicle that is, let's say, a 2016 Ram that actually starts and will go and can get to my shop.
Thank you, Rob.
I know Rob's going to love that. So we offer several different levels. So when you asked about waxing, well, wax, if you're thinking about a traditional like a turtle wax, that's something where it does two things at one time. It's called a cleaner wax. So you'd wash the vehicle, and then if you were doing it in your driveway, you'd rub the turtle wax on, take it off. Probably take a couple hours to do that. How long does the protection last that you just put on? About 3 weeks. So basically you'd have to do that once a month, spend 2 hours or so once a month to get that to really protect the vehicle. The other thing that it does while it leaves some protection behind is that it's a cleaner wax because it's going to clean the paint. It cleans it chemically. It doesn't do a polish where it's actually abrading away any of the finish. So can it make it shinier and look nice? Absolutely. Is it something where it's going to make it have some protection on it for a couple weeks? Absolutely. So what we do in our most basic package is we do what's called a clay bar treatment. After we wash it, the clay bar is going to kind of do an exfoliation of the paint and make sure that the pores of the paint are nice and clean, that everything is removed. The cleaner the surface, the better result you're going to have. So if we put a sealant on there, a sealant lasts anywhere between 4 to 5 months. So a sealant is going to protect your paint for a lot longer than the turtle wax would. Now, again, if you could clay bar it at home and then put your turtle wax on, your turtle wax will last for a few weeks longer. So as far as doing a ceramic coating, we can do that on vehicles. Ceramic coatings, there's several different types. The newest one on the market is a graphene coating. Graphene is just like you'd find in a pencil. The benefits of the graphene is that it gives you a really nice shining look. We're still working out how long they last, because once you put them on, doing a fortification of that is sort of iffy at this point. There are quartz coatings, which I don't like the look of them. Quartz coatings kind of give you a plasticky look. The ones I like are by companies that use silica dioxide. The cool thing about silica dioxide is you can actually layer it. You can make it so that you can, just like old lacquer, it melts into itself. So you can make it so that you can have a 2-year rated coating. And we have people that are at 5 years after doing fortifications that their coating is still working great. So you asked me about the cost. Well, as far as that goes, a lot of it depends on the condition of the vehicle. Ceramic coatings, what happens is when you put them on, they're actually much harder than the paint itself. They'll make any defects stand out. So if I have a car like a 2016 Ram, it's been driven through the car wash a lot. It has what I call spider web marks, because the car wash does something where it kind of flaps against the paint, or it sprays it really hard, and that's going to make all the dirt run off. That's going to put marks in the paint. If I put the coating on without polishing those marks out, it's going to make those marks stand out even more. So what we do is we do what's called paint correction, which is where you polish out all of those marks. Paint correction is done at $50 an hour, and I can't really quote without seeing a vehicle. So I do get that a lot. I get a call and how much to ceramic coat my 2016 Ram, and I'll say I need you to stop in so I can do an evaluation on it. Our ceramic coating package is $450. That includes the materials, all of the install time. That includes the preparation and the decontamination, the clay barring, and all that stuff. So for $450, that's how I get the coating installed, but I need to make sure the paint looks as good as possible. Now, like I said, that's done at $50 an hour. So it's kind of impossible for me to give an accurate quote without seeing it, but I can give you an idea of where we end up.
I think just listening to what you said. So I love cars.
Me
I'm
too.
by no means an expert on polishing, waxing. I knew the difference before you spoke, but I don't think the majority of people would. I think that there's a little confusion. So like for me, like what I've always wanted to do, and this is probably, I don't know if it's the right thing or the wrong thing too. I've always wanted to get compound and buff the shit out of my truck with compound, trying to fix all the little scratches and like trying to fix all that kind of stuff. Then I want to wipe that all down, and then I want to like get a turtle wax, and I want to wax it. Is that the wrong order of procedure for that, or am I crazy?
So the way that it works is that you've got compound, polish, and then your sealant. And compounds come in all kinds of different varieties. So since you're a general contractor, if we put it in the terms of when you put spackle on a wall, first thing that you do is you hit it with like a 40 grit or an 80 grit, because you got to knock it all back. And then you're going to hit it with 180 to smooth it out and feather it out. Well, that initial 40 grit or 80 grit, that's your compound. That's going to get rid of all of your deep scratches. But you wouldn't paint a wall after doing that. You have to finish it out. That's what polishing does. Polishing is how you finish it out. So with our different levels of detailing, we can do a polish on a car and not do a compounding round, because the compound needs to be followed by a polish before we do the sealant. So in our most popular detail package, which is called the classic detail, we're going to do a round of polishing. That's going to get rid of some of those spider webs and the smaller marks, make the paint shinier and glossier. Then we put the sealant on to protect it. So if you go to our next level up, that's when we're going to do a round of compounding, a round of polishing, and then the sealant. Now, when we do something like a ceramic coating, that's when we're going to do as much compounding as we can to remove as many of the defects as we can before we polish it to make it look as shiny and glossy as we can. Then we put the ceramic coating on after that.
So my dad's a mechanic, and I learned all the basic mechanic stuff from him. And one thing he always said was wax your car. Now, it might not be the proper terminology. We say you have to wax your car in the spring and in the fall.
Yep, that's smart. Yeah.
And he goes, you might not do it right or know what you're doing, but at least your car won't be as fucked up as it could be eventually. And that makes a lot of sense. Like he's an engine guy. So like I can change the oil. I've done my spark plugs. I've done all that kind of stuff. And I've learned all that. I learned all of that from him. Auto body stuff and vehicle wiring, he was never a fan of. He found it to be extremely annoying. So I've never learned that much about it. But I always try to we have 6 cars. You know what I mean? So I always try to pick a car and do something to it on that weekend, and whether it's wax it or whether it's clean it or whether it's whatever. So your suggestion is you come in twice a year.
Yes, usually what we say is come in spring and fall. And that way, not only can we get a sealant on there to protect the painted surfaces, but you want to get rid of all the salt, the grime, all of the road debris. So, and even things like bird poop and bug guts, because they'll etch in and they'll make things that, you'll have marks in your paint that it gets to the point where we can't fix it. So, and we want to make sure that we can keep the vehicle looking as good as possible.
I have a neighbor who I don't like, who feeds pigeons, and we call her the bird lady.
The bird lady.
And one of the reasons why we have we pay this monthly car wash package is because depending on where you park, these pigeons shit on your car. You can't drive around with shit on your car.
No, that burns through super fast.
You can't do it. So we're always hitting the car wash. We're always doing whatever like that because of this. It ended up because of one of the reasons is, first of all, you got to be neat and organized, but also you can't drive around with bird shit. A, it's bad for your car, and B, it's embarrassing as fuck.
It is.
You can't do that. People look at you like, what the hell did you do to that car? You know what I mean? And so you have to do that. But that's bird shit really hurts
and it's funny, we have people that will come in, and I have one of my really good friends, she's a great bass player actually, bought a brand new, I'm talking 2022 Nissan Sentra, straight off the lot, black, loves the car. She bought it over the summer. So she was at work, and while she was at work, a bird crapped on the hood. So she came out after work at 5 o'clock, saw the big smear of bird crap, and she's like, oh man. So she went and got water and a sponge and tried to wipe it off to make it so that the car was nice and clean. Well, the bird had eaten something that was in the bird shit. So as she was trying to wipe it off, and since it was all dry from baking in the sun, it scratched the ever living hell out of her hood. She was trying to get the bird shit off. So then she calls me and she's like, holy shit, what did I do? So she brings it to the shop, and I wound up wet sanding her hood so that way I can get the scratches out. And it was amazing how whatever the bird had eaten, whether the bird had eaten an eggshell or something like that, but man, it gouged the living hell out of that paint. And modern paint is mostly water-based. It's not lacquer-based anymore. And water-based paint, man, that bird poop is acidic and it'll eat right through it. Same thing with bug guts. We have people that'll leave bugs on the front of their car for months. We bring it to us. We'll do the detail work. When they come back, they're like, it's still dirty in the front. I'm like, nope, that's actually all areas where the bugs etched into your bumper or etched into the hood. And that's not something that we can repair. That's now a repaint scenario.
See, I think people look at cars in a couple different ways. So for me, I'm a big Formula One race car fan.
Nice.
Love Formula One, bro. I watch it every Sunday. When it's on, I'm a fucking lunatic. I'm a Ferrari fan. I stand in front of the TV. All that's just craziness, right? I appreciate Formula One. I appreciate auto racing. And I appreciate taking care of my car.
Yeah.
But I think that some people look at the car as more utilitarian.
Absolutely. A to B. That's all they need. Just get from A to B.
And they don't care. And some people, I think there's different levels of that too. I think some people will wash the car and be like, yeah, fuck it. I vacuum it out and I wash it. It's good enough. And I get back and forth and work with it. Other people don't even do that. They're just like, fuck it. I'm going to drive this thing. I had a friend of mine who, he knew a lady who never changed her oil. She would just continue to add oil whenever the oil was low. She never changed a filter.
Well, her filter was probably getting better and better because it was getting more clogged, and that means it's filtering better, right?
I guess. It was crazy. And the car ran forever. It was an old station wagon, and this car ran forever. I think there's people that are the extreme to that. I also think there's people extreme on the other end where the car has to be absolutely perfect and has to be a showpiece. I think it depends on when I look at like my pickup truck, I need it to be clean. You know what I mean? And I want it to be functioning when it functions, and I want it to be safe to drive. And it has to be clean, neat, and organized all the time. So that's how I look at that. I think other people look at their car a little differently. Like if I said to my wife, she just got a Toyota. They don't make the car anymore. We bought 1 year old. We just bought it used. It's like a little crossover CRV,
HRV or whatever it is.
Yeah.
The Toyota one. Yeah.
So she got that. If I told her like, oh, you can get this ceramic cut, she'd be driving to your house like to get this done. You know what I mean? Like that's her that's what she wants the car to be protected. This is an investment. I'm going to drive it. And I drive my shit to the wheels fall off, like hundreds of thousands of miles. Like that's how I believe if you maintain it, it'll drive forever.
That,
yeah. So that's just especially like a Toyota or something like that. Those cars are great forever. So I think that there's levels of, and I think in your business, kind of like my business, I'm doing a basement now where it's a basic basement.
Right.
And it's going to be cool. It's all the walls are insulated and sheetrocked. We got really cool LVP floor going down. We framed out some different rooms that the customer wanted, a laundry room, whatever. It's going to be really, really cool. I've done that kind of basement, which is like, say, a $20,000 basement. And I've done a $60,000 basement where we've had to put special lighting in so the guy can shine the fucking lights on all his autographed jerseys. We've had to put, we did a custom made bar with lights underneath the bars. And when I say a price, that's without material. So like, this is like we're going to move into this basement, and that's, what I mean? So and that guy's like, I want to be able to have my friends over to watch the big screen TV and look at my jerseys and do this and do that. And the other guy is like, I want to do something similar, but my basement is not the most important part of what I'm doing. So I think you have to, in your industry, I think you have to look at it too, where like, I might bring my pickup truck in and say, I just want to make sure the paint's protected on it. I'll see you twice a year. Versus this is a Ferrari. It needs to be treated as such. You know what I mean? Kind of idea. So I would assume you see a lot of those, that type of line of people too.
It's funny. We see everybody from soccer moms that have a minivan that is completely destroyed that they want to, get cleaned up because they're tired of sticking to the seat when they get out of it. To business owners, we do a lot of work with people that have vehicles like construction vehicles or like pickup trucks, and they want to keep them clean and keep them functioning. And then we do have people with collector cars. On Tuesday, we have somebody who's bringing us a 1964 Corvette that he's actually taken out to a big Corvette show out in Carlisle. He wants it to look, and it's a survivor car, never been painted, never been hit, nothing like that. And so, he's bringing it to us because he knows that we know how to handle that sort of thing. So we do see kind of like all ends of the spectrum in that you have people that need or want certain things done. The cool thing with my industry is that it normally starts one way or the other. In other words, like I'll get a soccer mom that she has her minivan done because her kids are finally old enough that they now know better than to track stuff in or whatever. And then she sells the minivan and she buys herself a nice SUV, and she's like, I'm going to bring it and get it ceramic coated so that way it's protected. And then the husband says, well, if you're going to get your vehicle ceramic coated, then I want to get my truck detailed. And then we sort of work into a family affair like that. And we have a lot of people where it sort of snowballs like that. And I call them repeat offenders, where they'll bring various vehicles in, or they'll start off by bringing a collector car and they'll say, okay, this car is really special. I want this done for this show. We do that work. And then they say, you know what, while you're at it, let me bring my wife's car in, and then we take care of that. And then they say, well, let me bring my daily driver in, and then we take care of that. And then, well, I've got 4 work vehicles. You guys will do those, right? Sure. Then they bring those in. So it's nice to see how that relationship develops.